guys, welcome back to my channel. Simone here, and today we're going to be talking about my books to read in 2020 TBR. So I have done 2 TBRs previous to this, which I'll link down below for you. I've done my Booktuber Recommends my TBR and my Project Thriller TBR. So those each have 12 books in that I hope to read in the year 2020. And we have another 12 today. So these are just general books I want to read. They're not in any category, they've not been picked by anyone specifically, but these are 12 books that I have high hopes for and I definitely want to read this year. And as I said previously, I'm really trying to make a better effort of the books that I'm reading to make sure that I read these books, because last year I didn't do great with my TBRs, so I'm hoping to do better this year. And I have a really good mixture on this list as well. Some also, I've realised once I've stacked them, because I have them stacked next to me, I realised that I have some pretty big ones on this list, so don't know why I did that to myself. But yeah, let's get started and I'll tell you what I'm going to read. So the first book that I have on this list is The Little Stranger by Sarah Waters. I read The Night Watch by Sarah Waters, I think it was I want to say it was 2018, and I enjoyed it, but this one is one I've heard really good things about. I believe it's a thriller. It's been made into a film, and I know that Leanne from Literary Diversions really likes this one, so I'm all there for the recommendation. This says, in a dusty post-war summer in rural Warwickshire, a doctor is called to a patient at lonely Hundreds Hall. Home to the Ayres family for over 2 centuries, the Georgian house, once grand and handsome, is now in decline, its masonry crumbling, its gardens choked with weeds, its owners, mother, son and daughter, struggling to keep pace. But are the Ayres haunted by something more sinister than a dying way of life? Little does Dr. Faraday know how closely and how disturbingly their story is about to become entwined with his. So yeah, I don't really know too much about this. I know it's like a historical fiction thriller, I guess. But yeah, I've heard fantastic things. I really want to read the book. I really want to read the book, obviously, but I really want to see the film, so I needed to read the book first, and I'm very excited about this. It's quite big though. Like, it's, how many pages are you? It's nearly 500 pages, so it's not too bad, I suppose. Next up, I want to start a new series. There's a surprise. When do I not want to do that? This one is a series I actually own in its entirety, and I really want to read at least the first one this year. And this one is Northern Lights by Philip Pullman. This is the first book in the His Dark Materials series. This has had so much buzz for years and years, and I really need to get on and read the books. So this one I don't actually know anything about. I know that it's set, there's polar bears in it, I think. I've heard it's very strange, and I've heard not great things about the other books in the series, but I do own them, so yeah, I'm interested to read this one. Can't wait to see how I feel about it and also what it's like. Also, this is quite a floppy paperback, which I'm fan of. I like it, and yeah, I really want to get on with this one. The third book is actually one I have on my Kindle, and it's I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. This is a book that I don't know too much about, but I know that it follows Michelle McNamara trying to figure out who the Golden State Killer is. I believe she died before this book was, I'm not sure if it was before this was published or before she would have found out that the Golden State Killer has actually been found now, because I think mainly due to her research actually, which I think is great and amazing, and I love true crime. So yeah, this, like I say, is one I have on my Kindle and I really want to read it. The next one I feel like I'm probably going to regret, because it is nearly 900 pages long and I don't know how I feel about it. However, it is A Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin, which is the second book, I believe. Yeah, the second book in the A Song of Ice and Fire series, the first one being A Game of Thrones, which I read, I want to say now it was 2 years ago, and I still haven't continued with the series because it's massive. I really enjoyed the first one. I was quite, like, I enjoyed it a lot. I wasn't really expecting to like it as much as I did, and I really did. So I do need to. I think I have this one, and I think I've got another 2 of the books, and I just haven't got through, like, haven't read them, so I need to do that. I don't really know like too much about what is going to happen in this. The first one is really hard to explain. It's an epic fantasy. Yeah, I don't really have, there's so many books in this series as well, so I do really want to at least read this one this year, even if I don't get to then read any of the others. Although, oh hello, I just found this has got a bookmark in it. The Bookies, Denver. Wow, that's amazing. I bought this book actually on holiday in Dawlish, which is just down the road from where I live now, so that's quite cool. But yeah, I want to at least, like I said, read the second one in the series, so wish me luck. Like whatever month I pick that for my TBR, I may not read anything else, so we'll see. Next up, we have a book that I'm actually, you'll see my TBR that's coming up at the end of the month, but I'm planning on reading this in February. This is How Hard Can Love Be by Holly Bourne. This is the sequel to the Am I Normal Yet by Holly Bourne, which I really, really loved. That was amazing. It's the second book in the Spinsters trilogy, and I really am loving the covers of these books for a start. Yeah, I can't wait to read this one. I'm actually buddy reading this one in February, like I said, so I'm excited to get to this one, and then it's one I can also cross off the list. But yeah, can't wait for this. Next up, I'm pretty sure I have one on each of these lists, but I had to get a James Patterson book in here, and this time it's going to be Texas Ranger by James Patterson and Andrew Burrell. This is quite a different one than any of the others I've read by him. I believe this is a standalone. It follows, in fact, I'll just really quickly read the back. So I love his premises so much. It says, Officer Rory Yates is called home to settle deadly scores. His skill and commitment to the badge have seen him rise through the ranks in the Texas Ranger Division, but it came at a cost, his marriage. When he receives a worrying phone call from his ex-wife, Anne, Rory speeds to what used to be their marital home. He arrives to a horrifying crime scene and a scathing accusation. He is named a suspect in Anne's murder. Rory's only choice is to find the killer himself. He risks his job, his pride, and his reputation to pursue the truth. Rory follows the Ranger creed, never to surrender. That code just might bring him out alive. So, yeah, I don't think this is even that long either. It's about 300 pages, which for James Patterson, the writing is always like massive in it. So yes, I'm really looking forward to reading something a bit different by him again. And like I said, I always have one of these on each of my lists for him. It's always a James Patterson. So yes, I'm excited to get to this one. Next up, I have another massive one. In fact, let's have a quick look. This one is 700 pages. What am I doing to myself? So this is a huge book. This one is Sleeping Beauties by Stephen King and Owen King. This is the first time I will have read an Owen King book. And obviously it's Owen King is Stephen King's son. This follows a world where women are falling asleep. There's like a sleeping virus which shrouds them in a cocoon-like gauze, and if woken, if the gauze is disturbed, the women become rabid, and it's about the men starting to figure out what's happening. And I just think that Stephen King generally writes amazing kind of worlds, and he really does well with this kind of thing. So I think that him and Owen will be really interesting to read together. I'm also really interested to see if I can work out where Owen's influence comes in, because I've obviously read quite a lot of Stephen King before, and plus I need another Stephen King on my list for this year because I'm excited. So yes, I really, really can't wait to read this. I then decided to go for a much shorter one, mainly because it's the next in a series that I'm reading, and this will keep me up to date with the books that I currently own. So this is Undead and Unreturnable by Mary Janice Davidson. If you watched my December wrap-up, which I'll link below, you'll have seen that I read the third book, which was Undead and Unappreciated, I think. That was the third book, and that was the last book I read in December. These are really, really short. I can generally read them in one sitting. This follows Betsy Taylor, who works in a shoe shop in the first book, and she is killed and wakes up as the Queen of the Vampires. And honestly, it's a wonderful, wonderful series. It's very sexy time. It's very like gory. It's not really gory, but it's kind of like a bit gross in places. But yeah, I absolutely love the series. It's so funny. My mum is lending me these books as I read them, or as she reads them. So like I said, I've just finished in fact the third one is right up there, because these are the books that I'm going to send to a charity shop, and the top one is for my mum to have back, and then she's given me this one. I believe she's even going to read the fifth one soon, so she'll be sending that to me as well, so we'll be able to swap books. But yeah, I really want to read the fourth one this year. Then we have a book which I need to finally put to bed whether I'm going to read this and enjoy it or not, because I've had this book on my shelf, probably the longest of all the books on there, and I'm really not sure if I'm going to like it. This is Shatter Me by Tahara Mafi, which is it's a YA fantasy novel, I believe, about a girl named Juliet whose touch is fatal, but the re-establishment, who I don't know who they are, but they have plans for her to use her as a weapon, and it's about that, I think. So this is now, I mean, it wasn't originally a trilogy, I think, and then there was extras added, and now there's all sorts. I don't really know. The thing that I was always kind of like worried about is the fact that a lot of it's like crossed out inside, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'd never heard anyone talking about it until I opened my copy and was like, but why is it crossed out? But yeah, I should have guessed because the back is exactly the same. So yeah, I'm interested. I don't know how I'm going to feel about it, but finally I want to read it at least and give it a go. We then have number 10, and that is going to be Girl Online Going Solo by Zoe Sugg. This is actually the final book in a trilogy, and I want to at least finish one trilogy this year, or a series of some kind. So this is the third book by Zoella, or Zoe Sugg, and she has written a book about a girl named Penny who has anxiety, and she suffers from just generally the things that go around that. She has a blog, and she, in the first one, she it's kind of her dealing with people knowing about it and stuff like that, and there's also a romance in there. And this one, yeah, like I said, is this final book in the trilogy, and I just really want to read it. I've read the other two and really enjoyed them, so hopefully I'll enjoy this one as well, but I can't wait. Then the penultimate one is another massive book. Again, why I'm doing this to myself, who actually knows? This one is nearly 700 pages, and this one is Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Rees Brennan, Maureen Johnson and Robin Wasserman. So this is the next book I have to read in the Shadowhunter world. So I've read all of the City of Bones series, the Mortal Instruments series. I read all 6 of those books, and I've also read the Shadowhunter, what was it called? The Shadowhunter's Codex. I read that one. So this is my next one. Then I'm going to read the Bane Chronicles, and then I'm going to start the Infernal Devices, which I'm excited about. But, as I said, I need to get this one read. So this, I believe, is a lot of short stories, which I think it's all to do with Simon. So yeah, Simon, who is obviously Clary's best friend. I think this is just a set of lots of short stories. Yeah, it's like 10 short stories, or shorter stories. Yeah, you can kind of see I don't know if you can see that, like where they are. So yeah, I'm interested about this one. Like I said, it is a big one, but I'm hoping that it will read quickly because they are short stories. So yeah, this could be a fun read, and like I said, I need to get this one read before I then go on to the next one. And then the final book I want to include on this list is a non-fiction book, which I have been really interested to read because I've read 2 books from this author before. This is Under the Banner of Heaven by Jon Krakauer. So I've read Into the Wild and Into Thin Air before. So Into the Wild was about what was his name? Chris McCandless, who it was to do with mountaineering and that kind of thing. And then Into Thin Air is also about mountaineering, about going up Everest, I believe. So this one is a very different non-fiction book for him. So this follows, so basically in 1984, a woman and her infant daughter were murdered by 2 brothers who believe they were ordered to kill by God. The roots of their crime lie deep in the history of an American religion practiced by millions, which I believe it talks about these 2 men who believed that they were like following the Mormon faith, and it talks about the history of Mormonism, and then it talks about these brothers. And yeah, I don't really know too much else about it, but I am really interested. I'm really excited about it. Like I said, I've heard amazing things, and I've read amazing books by Jon Krakauer, so I'm hoping that this one will be just as good, and it's kind of like true crimey as well, so potentially even more kind of my type of book. I also really want to read a lot of his others because he's got so many different ones, but yeah, this is definitely a book that I am hoping to get to this year. So there you have it, guys. This is the stack of books that I'm adding to my 2020 TBR, including also my including I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara, which I have on Kindle, but the rest of these, so there are some pretty chunky books in here, but I feel like I can get through them this year. I'm excited and I'm really, really optimistic. So yeah, let me know which ones you think I should start with. I have a couple of these actually on my February TBR, so look out for those. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time for another video. Bye guys!